YouTube, what is up? Today we're going to be doing our top 15 players that are going to Shanghai. And I decided to go with 15 because there's just too many players. It's so hard, this list. This list has probably been the hardest out of all the lists I've done because it's like, do you have recency bias? Do you include the past? Just think of split? Do you include kickoff? So it's been... I think this will be the one where most people's top 10s will probably differ the most out of any we've seen in the past. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, where you disagree, and I probably agree with you. That's the main thing at the moment. I think everyone can put up an argument for multiple players. Okay, let's get into it. 15, I have Mizzino, and it was more just like I wanted to give the guy props. I think the guy's playing very, very good. I think out of this team, I probably wasn't expecting him to be one of the highest fraggers, and I think he is the second highest fragger out of that team, and he's the most consistent. So I just wanted to kind of put him on the list and just be like, props, man. Like, I see you, you're doing good work. And the consistency is the one for me that is, I'm just like, yeah, this is why you're up there. So Mizzino is up there in my 15th place. At 14th, I have EU. And the reason I have EU is just the utility usage. I wanted to put a lot of people from 100 Thieves, but all of them kind of vary, and they're like, all of them were kind of in the same group. You maybe got Cryo that's a bit at the top, and then you got like the other three in terms of fragging out heavy. And then it's also like, do you include the IGLs? Do I include Boostio here? But I don't really factor in the IGL stuff. So just because we don't know how good IGLs are. So I just kind of went with consistent fragging and the util usage. I think this util usage is so good. The combos that they're doing, Ever, Brim, Alt, and yeah, it's more just this guy is one of the best, in my opinion, at the moment on Fade, and I think they're leaning heavy into Fade, and I think it works really well for them. And I just think this guy's great. Clutching, ability, and fragging out well. So that's why he's at number 14. Number 13, and don't get too mad in the comments, number 13 is Chronicle. And I know he should be in the top 10, especially if we're thinking about past, but I have to go off like the whole split and kickoff. I'm trying to do a little bit of like this year with a small element of last year. I'm trying to lean less on last year. That's kind of why some of the Fnatic players are still in here and still relatively, well, still on the list. I feel like they've had a rough year. They're only just starting to come into like their main form. And Chronicle's been consistent-ish, but just not to the same levels that we used to see. So he's still doing great things. I still feel like one of the better flexes, but it's just, yeah. I mean, he should, and probably after Shanghai will be like, I should have put him higher. But if I'm going off the whole of split, I think he's sitting around the 13th spot, which brings me over to 12, which is going to be Alpha, and similar thing, really. I have to include last year. I didn't think I would ever have Alpha as low as this, but I just think of the expectation levels that have been set, and how he's performed this year. I think Alpha has been lacking, and we're starting to see him perform. I felt like when I watch him, it feels like he really is bored of his roles, and he's like thriving when he gets a chance to play Raze and gets a chance to play these other roles. But then I feel like his actual decision making on the normal roles, just maybe it is the same, and his aim just hasn't been as up to par in terms of him getting bailed out from his fragging all the time. Because I know he does like play a little bit aggro, but it just feels like it's something's missing. It's not at the same level, so that's kind of why he's so low down. I know, again, after Shanghai, he probably will be in the top 10, but I have to go off the split and what I've seen of him play in the past. So that is why Alpha is 12. Still, again, an insane player. One of the best. Like, he should be in the top 5, but I'm going more off like recent, and yeah, it's not been to the levels that we expect, but I think it's starting to get there. And I just can't get some of the early games out of the split out of my mind from Fnatic. And then we go to 11, and just I hate to do this again because I had him 11 going into Masters Madrid, and I regretted it. Forsaken is at my 11. Incredible flex. But I think that he's taken a bit more of a back seat now. Jing is back, and I think that's great for the team. I think he doesn't have to frag out as heavy. The fact that he now has Jing and Divi, and some of the other players are maybe just stepping up with Jing back here. I know that Jing's doing a lot of the calling, and it's literally just Forsaken is now just the person who sets up Jing, and I think it works great. But that's reflected on is fragging, and I don't think it's and it's not like he's not as good, or if anything, he's improved. Like the whole team works better. It's just the fact he's now not as impactful, like on the server stat wise. I guess it's more just utility to set someone else up. He's just he's the glue. So it's not the flashiest stuff, which is why he's at the 11, and kind of the other people are above him. But again, I think he is the best flex in my opinion at the moment. I know he does a lot of calling, mad respect. And yeah, just out of my top 10 for this one, just more because he's the enabler of the team. And it feels like a bit like he's more of how I view IGLs at the moment, where it's like I know this guy is providing so much, but what I'm actually seeing, I have to talk about other names more. So that is my 11 to 15. And now my top 10, going into my top 10, we're speaking of flashy players before Forsaken, we've got one of the flashiest. It is CNED. And I feel like CNED's been great so far. He's this role where he has all of this freedom just really suits him. I've been enjoying it a lot. I think that even though Footer playing some weird comps, I think a lot of that is just to make him comfortable as well. And he just has freedom. If he wants to lurk on Jet, he lurks on Jet. If he wants to go for a push on defense, he pushes on defense. And he's just fragging out really heavy, and I feel like the rest of the team really works, and they're vibing so much. This is the thing, this is the first time I've seen CNED actually smiling since like the Ascends days, so it's nice to see him happy and fragging out so heavy. And yeah, I had to have him in my top 10, just because he's been performing so well. This one's going to be probably controversial because I've seen him higher up in other people's lists, and that's Benjifishy. Benjifishy at number 9. And Benji's been doing unreal things. It's the first time I've included him in my top 10, which is one of the reasons why maybe he's so low down. He probably should be, if I'm going off recency bias, potentially even in like top 6, top 5. Insane anchor, util's unreal. The aim looks like some of the best I've seen. It really does. He just has this snappy aim that it never surprises me when he manages to keep hitting shots. It keeps delivering. He does just keep delivering. And yeah, he's one of the best anchors at the moment. So I have to include him in the top 10. I think maybe going on in the future, he might be higher up in my top 10, but it's just because I'm just including like a little bit of the past in this one. So that includes a little bit of last year. All right, moving forward. 8. He is back at his Jing, and Jing has been doing a lot of calling, a lot of heavy fragging, and PaperX have been running over teams, good teams that other teams have been struggling against. They are running over them. PaperX are massively on form. Him coming back, I think, is the best I've ever seen them play, and I'm really putting them on a pedestal at the moment. I know I am, but I just feel so confident in this team when I watch them. I think the comps can be a little bit predictable, but I also think that they have time, and they're very good, maybe one of the best at instantly changing up comps. So Jing, heavy fragging, and everything's clicking with him. Everything's clicking. He's doing old Jing things. It's maybe not to the level that it used to be. There's still a little bit of roughness there, a little bit of rust, but I think that's coming. I think it's slowly wearing off, and I think that he probably makes it into the top 5 come champions, to be honest. So we'll keep an eye on it. And yeah, I just love the space that he makes, and I enjoy when he's calling. I enjoy these comps that are just made to just set him up and just get over towards the sites, and it looks impossible to actually hold the sites. Jing at 8. And number 7, we have Kang. I've seen a Kang missing from a lot of people's top 10s. This guy is back. Like this guy is back. I'm ignoring a bit of Madrid. I'm ignoring the bit before Madrid in terms of kickoff, and I'm focusing a lot more heavier on split 1. If I was focusing just solely on split 1, he would be maybe even 4th, to be honest. But I have a bit of that factored in, and he's just fragging so heavy now. He's back on the duelist role. Everything is about him. They're playing it a little bit like Lev play, where it's all just setting up this one guy, and he is fragging out heavy. He's putting up numbers. He looks good. He looks like the old Kang when we were all really pumped out about him and just like hyped up about this guy and potentially been the best opper we've ever seen. He is back to these levels. I'm very excited for him in Shanghai. I like that EDG tried something else. It made it hard for other teams to kind of like work out what they're doing. It gave probably the rest of the team a little bit of confidence and ideas in how to play other roles and other like agents. And now they're relying on what made them good. So I'm excited for Shanghai. I think they're coming into form at the right time. And yeah, I think it could be a really good event. This guy is fragging heavy, heavy. Stats are crazy at the moment, and he looks really good. So that is why Kang is at number 7. Just above him is Cryo, and I had to have someone from 100 Thieves that was performing crazy good, and it has to be Cryo, filling in the Demon 1 role of Smokes and Duelist. And he's just looking unreal. Like, he is looking unreal. He looks comfortable. And that's the one thing where I felt like I was watching him last year. Is like, he did not feel comfortable. I've always known he's a good player. I think on Plat Chat, I used to say that I would like build the team around him if I was actually looking at the core itself. And I think that he's now living and delivering to his potential. And it's going to be exciting to see because he's a talented player. And it's lovely to see him thriving in the Smokes role as well. Especially when I look at Bind, I think he's making a lot of the good decisions. And it's the same thing with all of this. Boostio's come into this team, and now all of these players have the confidence. They're scary players. They always were legit great players. But now they have the confidence to make them. I mean, it literally has essentially just boosted the confidence of them all, and they're just performing to their peak all at the same time, all in different games. It's really sick to see. So yeah, big shout out to Cryo. I think he's doing great in the roles. And shout out to Zix and Boostio as well for enabling him to do that. At number 5, we have Texture, and Texture's just been consistent throughout the year. Especially, it's hard to get the Paper Rex final out of my head because he was the one that only made this like final close. He was the one that was solo taking them down, winning big rounds on ecos to actually like make Paper Rex have to eco and give them a lot of money in terms of picking up guns. So Texture has to be on here. He's doing a lot. I struggled with my top 5. I didn't really know exactly where to put them. I was tempted to put Texture 4th, but he had a bit of a dip if I'm looking at some of the normal split. I think the whole of Genji did, so that's why I'm putting him around the 5th mark. But other than that, I think he's an insane player. Excited to watch at Shanghai. And yeah, it's just a insanely mechanically gifted player who's gives great reactions as well, and he just looks like he's a really good teammate. So, yeah, he's my number 5. Then number 4 is Divi. We have David here, and he has been so good since Jing has come back. It's ridiculous. It's old Divi. You go back to my old top 10s, I used to have Divi in them all the time, and ever since Monyet went in for Jing, that was the thing that, I don't know, I don't think Divi felt comfortable. It didn't look like old Divi. It felt like I don't know, he was probably just thinking more instead of like, it might be the Oxy thing where it normally just feels natural doing stuff with like Jing, whereas like with Monyet, he maybe had to think a bit more and then it was hesitant, and that hesitation is now fully gone. They all know what they're doing. The hive mind is back and Divi is thriving. I heard he's doing and has always kind of done some like good mid-round calls and helped with a lot of the hive mind calling, and it looks like he's still doing that. And Utel is unreal, clutches are unreal, and he's just playing like the old Divi that we used to. Info when they need it, making plays when they need it, and just being the rock and the glue of one of the best teams in my eyes at the moment. That's why Divi is at number 4. 3, I have Something, and mechanically, I think Something probably the second best in the world. I'll go over to the first best, who I think that is in a little bit, but I think his mechanics are just incredible. Fragging heavy on different roles. Somehow he's making Gecko Op look unreal, and like he has no way to escape in some of these times, but his just positioning and his movement is just so smart. And I just think that he is good, and putting up the numbers he does and having the impact he does on all of these different roles is very impressive. And yeah, I just think that he's having a great split. He wasn't having a great year with Mon yet. He had like a little bit of a rough time, and then Masters, after the first game of Masters, he just came on live, and then he came alive, and then every time since then, he's just been fragging so heavy, so much impact. He looks at the best I've seen him right now, and that's really exciting going into Shanghai with the rest of his team playing so well. So that is why Something is third. And then at number 2, we have Aspas. So Aspas is the most mechanically gifted in the world. I think at the moment, if I just look at pure mechanics as a player, I think he is the best. Crazy numbers. He's doing insane things. He really putting the actual numbers he puts up is, it shouldn't be possible to do this on a consistent basis. And the only reason he's not fast, if without delving into who the first player is, it's just because his team enables him so heavy to have these kind of stats. And I don't think my number one player gets that. So that's why I put them above. But Aspas is, I mean, he is just one of the best we'll probably ever see in the game. And I think the fact that he can single-handedly win rounds and win maps is just so good. He looks, when you see a player look this good on two different teams, completely different teams as well, you know they're the real deal. He is the real deal. Mad numbers, keeps fragging heavy, excited to watch him. I very much understand why everyone has him as their number one. The only reason I don't is because of this. My number one is Leo. And Leo just is the complete package for me. He is the coach's dream. And this is my coach bias coming in. Instead of looking like the mechanically unreal player, I'm looking at the guy being like, I would love to have Leo on my team. I'm hearing him call heavy. His consistency did not waver. The whole of Fnatic went like this, went down, and then they're starting to go back up. Him, solid line. He is so consistent right now. It is incredible. He's helping out with the calling. Even Boaster's giving him props. He's playing unreal games when he's like really, really sick. Like this guy is like struggling to like sit in his seat, and he's still getting mad 3Ks, mad clutches, mad winning the rounds, getting multiple shock dart kills again, like 5 on a map on Breeze or whatever it was. Like this guy is unbelievable, and he's just the whole package. He's doing it all on a Sova. He's doing it all on an initiator. It's ridiculous. Like he's putting up these numbers on an initiator. It's not like he has the duelist. It's not like he's getting enabled from his team. He's getting dropped all of these guns, etc. He is just doing him and putting up the numbers. So that is why I'm putting Leo above, because the team doesn't necessarily enable it to the extent that Aspas does, and it's duelist against initiator, and the fact that he's doing on initiator for me is just so impressive. It really is. And he just doesn't make mistakes. He actually just doesn't make mistakes. If I look at Aspas in comparison to Leo, Aspas makes like a little bit mistakes, more just like sometimes economy stuff, maybe where he should be going for kills and doesn't want to die, but he should actually be hunting for the kills for the econ for the rest of the team, or like the enemy's team, to wreck it a little bit. Whereas Leo doesn't. I don't think he ever. I think he makes the least mistakes out of any player I've seen. And again, I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect player, but I think he is the closest I have seen, and maybe we will ever see in this game. So that is why Leo is my number one. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. I mean, there's so much that you can disagree with, and I will agree with you, because this top 15 is, yeah, it's a hard one. It really is. I'm looking at a bit of recency bias, a bit of last year, and a bit of the beginning of this year as well, and I've just tried to blend it all in one. Let me know in the comments. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. And let me know if I missed anyone key, because I probably did. I feel like I missed someone key, but I can't work out who it is. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Peace, peace, peace.